Do you love this podcast? Do you wish you could learn even more? Well, we have an online class bundle. Our online class bundle is comprised of 3 online classes: beautifying your home for less, styling your home, and the fundamentals of feng shui. Each one of those 3 classes is between 30 and 45 minutes long and chock filled with visuals and tips, things that will help you to style your own space or help out with other spaces. Additionally, with the pack of 3 classes, you get an autographed copy of my book, Affordable Interior Design. You get all of that for only $99. Once again, that's the 3 online classes as well as the book for only $99. You just go to affordableinteriordesign.com/classes. Once again, affordableinteriordesign.com/classes to buy your bundle today. And if one of those classes sounded intriguing, but maybe you already have my book or some of the other topics are not of interest, you can buy the classes individually at that site as well. Each class is $40. So head over to affordableinteriordesign.com/classes to get your bundle or your online class today.
You don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
Hi, everyone. It is great to be back with you again this week. I am here with a guest. I always love having a guest. They provide inspiration. They help me to think about new things in different ways because interior design seems like it's just sort of one topic, but certainly there's so many facets to any industry, and the same is true with interior design. So I'm joined here by Justin Breen. Justin and I just met by coincidence. We are in the same business group, Strategic Coach, and we were put into a breakout session on Zoom, and we just connected. I found him to be so intriguing, so interesting, and I really think he'll have some great things to share with you guys as well. So welcome, Justin.
Yeah, this is exciting, Betsy. I'm very honored to be here. Our Colby scores, Colby, Kolbe. You're a 6'7" in the middle, and I'm a 6'7" in the middle, and that's very rare. And interior design inside a building. Maybe we can talk about interior design within your brain today. That's the way I look at things. I interior design my mindset. And that's led to designing the network of the highest performing entrepreneurs on the planet, which has created 2 global companies after having zero business background 4 years ago. So interior designing, whatever it is, it's designing the life that you want, I think.
Well, I think that aspect of your story is so intriguing. 4 years ago, you had a totally different life, a totally different vocation. Tell us more about that leap, what you did then, what you're doing now, and why.
My understanding is a lot of folks listening to this, they're here, if they can see they're here, they want to get to here. They're here, they want to get to here. So that I don't usually talk about it, but in this case, I will. I wrote an international best-selling book about, because people are like, wait, you had zero business background 4 years ago. Now you have 2 global companies that work with the top entrepreneurs on the planet. I'm like, well, so here's how that happens, 30 steps. And I'm just an entrepreneur who happens to be a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a PR firm owner. I'm an entrepreneur who happens to be a journalist. And, 4 years ago, I was working full time as a journalist, had my job salary cut in half, couldn't find a job, incorporated, in over 6 weeks, reached out to 5,000 people while I was working full time at half the salary to get my first 5 clients. So 1 out of 1,000 people said yes. Got 5th client, resigned the next day, and then Robert Peters, the top media columnist in the Midwest of the United States, did a story. I started my own firm. So that was February 10th, 2017 to June 5th, 2017. So that's entrepreneur life.
Well, and it seems like a perfect time to tell people that you're actually recording in your backyard. You're enjoying this beautiful September weather as I can hear the emergency vehicle.
Cicadas, ambulance.
There you go. You're located in Chicago.
Yeah.
And so we had only met via Zoom, and you mentioned that, you made this big leap, and also that you met your business partner over Zoom, and that you hadn't met this person that you're in business with, your partner, until last week.
So,
Yep.
a lot of people would be really afraid to make such a jump. What
No,
gives
no,
you the courage to
no.
go into business with someone on Zoom?
Yeah. So I'm a simplifier, meaning I take all this complexity in the world. I just hear blah, 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 and immediately simplify it into patterns. Immediately. That's how my brain works. So someone can talk to me for an hour and I'll hear blah, 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 and immediately turn it into a 400-word story or a 3 or 4 part pattern. That's how my brain works. And I haven't met one entrepreneur at the highest level. I'm not talking about small businesses. I'm not talking about regular humans. I'm talking about entrepreneurs at the highest level that hasn't overcome at least one of the following 4 things. Most are 2 or 3, and all 4 ones are really successful. So the 4 things, this is what separates entrepreneurs at the highest level from everyone else. So 4 things are bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy, 2, depression, 3, the highest level of anxiety you can imagine, and 4, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So most people use those as excuses their whole life. Entrepreneurs at the highest level, entrepreneur life, figure it out. So I'm 3 of those 4. The all 4 ones, there's a lot of all 4 ones in Strategic Coach 10X where I'm at, and in Abundance 360 Summit where I'm at. There's a lot of all 4 ones. And entrepreneur life, that's, again, just to get my company started, I was rejected 4,995 times to get 5 new clients. And when COVID started, I'm like, I posted this on social media at the time. I think at the time I had about 45,000 followers. Now I have 50. And I'm like, for people with the right mindset, this will be the greatest opportunity that's ever happened. And that's what's happened. So started a global company, second one, with someone I'd never met in person until our big launch party a couple of days ago at Chicago Yacht Club. He's in San Francisco, also in Strategic Coach. We met on Zoom, realized we had the same mindset, and we wanted to be a hero to the same people, highest performing entrepreneurs on the planet. And so we just created a second company to do that. Very simple.
Now you make it sound simple, right? But people...
Well, it is. For me, it is. That's what I mean. But so like you're a 3 implementer. For those who don't, you use your hands and build. I'm a 1. So if my sons are 8 and 7. So if they ask me to help tie their shoes or put their bike helmets on or change a light bulb, that's very difficult for me. I can do it, but it almost drains all my energy immediately. But at this, I just stay in my zone of genius. And that's the whole point about interior design, whether it's in a room or in your head, I just stay in my zone of genius. So for me, this actually is very easy, and it's very fun, and it's very lucrative, and it eliminates things that I don't want to deal with. That's the whole point. I've designed something that is my game with my rules. I've designed that. Yeah.
Well, I think people are listening, especially to your story earlier, where you talked about being a journalist, where you talked about getting this major pay cut and you either had to just take it or figure it out. And I think these people listening, a lot of them are going through the same thing. Maybe they're working in jobs that aren't fulfilling, or jobs where, especially during coronavirus, there's no guarantee. That's not a safety net anymore. And so they're not the same Colby score as you, and it may be more daunting for them. How would you help somebody who sees a lot of complexity make a leap? What would you say to somebody who can't see a way to their passion or their zone of genius?
Yeah, and that's the really interesting thing, is because most people can't do this. That's okay, by the way. There's a statistic. I don't have the article in front of me, but there's many articles. 4% of the population worldwide are entrepreneurs. And when I say entrepreneurs, I mean small business owners, any restaurant owners. And the people that I hang out with, it might be, 2 to 3% of the 4%, if that, 1 out of 1,000. So most people they're not meant for that. And that's great. That's great because the world needs more integrators to follow through on the visionaries to get stuff done. Now, that said, I find that there's no excuses for finding something that you're good at and what you like to do. There has to be ways to do that. My wife's a pediatrician. She is not an entrepreneur. She's not an entrepreneur, but she loves being a pediatrician. And she found a way to do that, going to medical school. Whether it's a nurse, whether it's a teacher, the real tragedy in life, and I think you talked about it already. There's 2 reasons why people are so miserable that I've seen, because I see everything in patterns. One, they're doing something 8 to 10 hours a day that they don't like to do and they're not good at. That's really sad. The really, really, really sad part is when they actually find out what they like to do and what they're good at and they don't do anything about it. And for me, that's inexcusable, whether it's as an employee or as an employer. It's inexcusable. And because it's tragic. It's tragic. And if more people were doing what they like to do and what they were good at, the world overall would be a very happier place. Much happier.
And I completely agree. I mean, I think there is such a loss. You have one precious life. And if you find what you're wanting to do and you let money or lack of education or any of the other excuses that we can bring into it, and some of them are very valid. Like, I definitely see the obstacles. I grew up, with a mom and who was single, and it was a different era when there weren't opportunities like there are now. And some people may still feel shackled like that. So now when we do have sort of a different generation where opportunities for online learning or even a more modest entrepreneurship, like a hobby business, abound, you can find a way. You should find a way. I think that's what you're saying. That's sort of kind of what you meant.
Well, I think that's a fair point. And again, that's the 4 things. So are you going to let those 4 things, are you going to use those as excuses or are you going to use those as motivation? That's it. I mean, that's what separates people from finding what they're, actually executing and then using those as so that's another interesting thing. Executing and excuse are very similar words in terms of how they sound, but they're totally different. Execute is you get it done. Excuse, you find a reason why you can't get it done.
And also, you don't all have to be that high level entrepreneur, that 1%.
Absolutely not.
4%. That doesn't necessarily equate to success, which is why I love, interior design. You can do it on the weekends. You can do it, for your neighbor. It doesn't have to be on a high level, like say something like being a pediatrician or a lawyer. You really can carve your own path, especially in the United States where you don't need a license to become an interior designer. So there's so many ways to make an artistic dream come true. What advice would you give someone who is seeing the obstacles, kind of has an inkling of what they want, but doesn't know what to do next?
Yeah, I mean, so you have affordable interior design, and I know you love affordable, and you love it. You love it. So that's why, you just love what you're doing. I love what I do. I would do it for free. It's not, in fact, I did basically for free for 20 years. If you go into journalism, you're not going into journalism to make money. So it's always been about purpose. To answer your question, there's a good trick to do to find out what you're really good at and what you like to do. And I've done this several times, and then I just kept working with higher and higher level people to really simplify it even more. But the first step I did was I wrote 30 things down that I did every day, no matter how trivial. I mean, it could be anything from taking the garbage out to turning my computer on to running, anything. And then those 30 things, I looked at 3 of them out of 30 that I really like to do and what I was really good at. And I circled them. And then I made a couple sentences out of them, And then those sentences, then I started sharing that with my friends and, my friends, high level entrepreneur, then they became higher level entrepreneur, then they became higher level entrepreneur, and they helped tweak it. And what it is now, it's similar to what it was then, but what it is now is the purpose of my life is to be a connecting superhero for every visionary, abundance, investment mindset entrepreneur and share their stories with the world. So besides hanging out with my family and friends, that is 100% of my day. Not 99, not 75, 100%. 100%. And I never get tired of it. It's fun. It's lucrative. It's just, I love it. I'd actually like to know your unique ability, or if you're your zone genius.
Well, that list of
if you
30
think-
things was depressing me, Justin. I was going through my list of 30 things. I consider myself a relatively high level entrepreneur. I'm in year 16.
You are.
This week, it's year 16 of business. And so
Amazing.
I feel successful. I
Yeah.
have a business that has visibility. I'm doing what I love, and it's really driven by purpose. But when I think about my 30 things, I think there's only 3 things on there that I do every day that I actually really like to do. And I think I'm still struggling. It sounds like you've probably narrowed that list of 30 things. It sounds like you do maybe 17 things now and you like a lot of them.
Oh no. I do one thing. I do the purpose of my life. I do one.
What about
if I don't do something, then
is that on the list? I was thinking like brushing
I like to brush my teeth. I like to brush my teeth. You know what? I don't like walking the dog. I don't like walking.
That's why you have
but
a
I'll do it.
fenced backyard, which I can see. I see the dog wandering around.
Correct.
Oh, you have a fenced backyard.
Yeah.
But I think
But that's interesting. You're talking about that's interesting. Yeah.
when I heard write down the 30 things you do every day, I thought about like, I really hate taking a shower. I hate it. I like it. But I like flossing. I don't like brushing. So maybe I got too granular. Maybe we have to limit the 30 things to things you do at work.
And this answers the question too. The Colby A index. Again, you're a 6 follow through and a 7 quick start. That's very rare in entrepreneur world. Most of the really high level entrepreneurs, they're like 8, 9, 10 quick start and 1, 2, or 3 follow through. So they're ADD, diagnosed or undiagnosed, and they're all over the place and have to hire 1 million people to actually do anything, which is great. Those are the people that change the world. And then my brain simplifies it. It simplifies it. And then my top 3 strength finders are activate, maximize, achieve. So there's no ideation. There's no futuristic. It's just result. It's really fascinating collaboration. But I strongly recommend everyone taking the Colby A index test. It's $55 and it takes 20 minutes. But it's not your personality. It's how your brain thinks of things. And again, most entrepreneurs are, the really good ones are at least a 7. Like you, they're at least a 7.
And now it's time for a quick commercial break. You've asked for it, and we have answered the call. For years, you've been saying, Betsy, you're talking about all these great design concepts, but we can't visualize them. You're describing the picture that the listener sent in of their problem, and we wish we could see that picture too. After all, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I do my best to describe them, but there's nothing like seeing it for yourself. And that's why Affordable Interior Design, the podcast, now has a YouTube channel. Not only do we have a YouTube channel where you could see recordings and clips of these podcast episodes, we also have an Instagram, a Facebook, and so many other exciting things. You should check it out. Head over to affordableinteriordesign.com/links. Once again, affordableinteriordesign.com/LINKS. links. And when you go there, you will see links to our YouTube page, our Instagram page, our Facebook page, and more. Please check it out, follow and subscribe so you can see everything I'm talking about.
You know a lot more about Colby than I do. Like, I love how you really tap into it.
Well, you're a 4 fact finder and I'm an 8. There's a big difference between that. A big difference.
So I took the Colby, but I didn't care to figure out what it meant exactly. How about that? I did.
Right. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But, I think that 6-7 combo is a little bit of a trap because sometimes
hit the gas, pump the brakes, hit the gas, pump the brakes, hit the gas, pump the brakes.
And then
I'm hit the gas. Right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, but you're exactly right. So I'll have the great idea and then I'll know I want to execute it. And it'll take me away from more good ideas to execute. It also took me longer to hire people because I could do the things as well, or I wanted to do the things as well.
Correct.
So I would have the idea and do the idea. And I slowed myself down. It's why, I feel successful after 16 years, but I was a solopreneur for 8 years. And it was really bad news. I think actually 10, and anyway, who cares? Let's not go back in time. Let's only look forward. But because I was able to and wanted to do the things, it stopped me from getting more done.
Yep. So this is how my brain works. I hear things and then I'm like, oh, activate, maximize it. Okay. So what you just said, I'm like, so here's my solution to, because you and I are very similar. So my first company, I have some freelancers that do some of the stories, but this is so easy for me and so much fun. I do a lot of it myself because why wouldn't I? And it's actually not a struggle. It's actually very easy. But with my new company, I couldn't do it. I can't do it. So all I did was, instead of the traditional entrepreneurial route, because I'm an outlier of outliers, I didn't hire 1 million people. All I did was I found a business partner who virtually, who I would describe him as a visionary integrator. He loves all the backstage stuff, doesn't want the spotlight, but he's a 9 quick start. So boom, 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 boom. And he's a 1 fact finder. I'm an 8. Total collaboration. And he's a 5 follow through. I'm a 6, and he's a 6 implementer, and I'm a 1. So total collaboration. So my point is, I couldn't do my first company with the new one. So I had to have collaboration, and that's what I'm doing. And he does all that stuff that I don't want. I'm not doing any of that. And it's a total partnership. It's not an employee-employer relationship. It's 100% partnership. And that's why I'm so excited about it, because it's just technology for my brain, and it'll 100x, if not 1,000x, what I'm already doing. And I have to do 0 extra work other than throwing big parties and talking about it. But that's not, that's not work.
That's obviously something you were good at, because I knew all about the party and it looked fabulous. If I was in Chicago, I would not have missed it. But I think the takeaway here is, if people are sitting here thinking, I wish I was an interior designer, or I wish I was following a different path, even if it's not interior design, the key,
whatever it is.
You have found the yin to your yang, the person to do the things you don't like to do. And, the trap for me in creating a business is I would come up with the idea, and I kind of like to do a lot of things. So I would make the idea. I came up with the vision of the house, and then I would build the house. And other people could build it faster than me, better than me. So much better. So get out of your own way. Better.
Correct.
I have an accountant, and today I wanted to apply for a grant, and there were all these different documents I had to do. And I'm like, I'm just going to pay her to apply for this grant for me.
Do it.
Because I could do it. I could slog through all my files. I know how to do this, but I shouldn't be doing this. So if you guys are feeling daunted listening, just do what you like. And the thing that kept me from doing what I like, to be totally frank, Justin, is not a need to control everything. It was, I grew up very poor, and I felt like I didn't want to spend the resources to pay someone to do something I could do. I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel I was good at it, but I knew I could go back in the files and find all my tax documents and find all the stuff in the IRS. Yep. And so I want people to take away that the investment is always worth it and will get you there faster. I built my own darn house, and I did. This is a metaphor, guys. This is a metaphor. I do not build houses, but I built every idea I had, and it was not a good use of my time. And it made me feel burnt out, and it made me feel like this wasn't the profession for me, because I was like, I got into this to design, and I'm doing all this other junk. So I think what Justin is trying to say is, find the yin to your yang, even if it means splitting the business with someone, right? As he has done with his new venture, even if it means, paying someone before you've seen the revenue come in, because you'll be able to make revenue that much faster. And I had that short view due to my upbringing, but I wish I would have had a different view. I'd be somewhere a little bit further along, I'm sure.
Well, So one, thank you for sharing that. I don't usually say this, but I think you'll appreciate it and your audience will appreciate it. So my father died when I was 13. He was 61 when I was born, so he'd be 105 if he was alive now. And he was a World War II hero, but he died when I was 13. And then I have my youngest brother died when he was 29 of a drug overdose. He'd be 41 now. And I have two other siblings, and they have, they're good people, but they haven't gone the route that I have. So they either go the route you and I have, or there's another route to go, and I don't, So I understand that. I understand. Okay. And again, entrepreneurs at the highest level, that's just not what you just told me about growing up poor. That's entrepreneurial. I mean, I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs at the highest level I talked to that had no money. And my firm the first company has 2 billionaires that are clients, and I think 6 or 7 people that are dirt broke, but they find a way to make an investment. No excuses, make the investment. Okay, so the key word that you said there, in that really good example about yourself that will be really helpful for your audience, is you said the word investment. So normally I don't do this, but I think people will appreciate it. So I started my company, zero business background. The first investment I made in a group was maybe $200 a year. It was 200. Okay. And then I realized, okay, that's not the group for me, but okay, made the investment. The next one was 2,000 a year. Okay. Starting to find some people that I understand and they understand me. Okay. Then someone in that group told me about strategic coach. They're like, you're not 2,000 a year, you're 10,000 a year investment. Okay. Made the investment. 10,000 a year. At the time, that was a little over 2 years ago. That was a very big investment, but I made the investment. Okay, 10,000 a year investment. Then I'm like, okay, I'm not really the 10,000. I'm going to do the 25,000. So recently did the 25,000. Oh wow, big investment. Okay. And then someone in strategic coach told me about Abundance 360, which for those who don't know what it is, top, one of the top entrepreneur groups in the world. Okay, that's 20K a year. So. But I started at 200. Now I'm investing in those types of groups, around 50, 60,000 a year. But I didn't start at 50, 60,000 a year. I didn't start at that. I started at 200. And the first check I ever got that said my company's name, Brepic, the first check was $500. And I'll tell you, it was in a little restaurant. And they printed out the check, and it said my company's name on it. And I actually regret not saving when I deposited it during the bank run. I regret not saving the receipt because it would have been funny. And I'll just say that the checks I get now are much bigger than $500, but it started at 500 and it started at 200. It didn't start out at 50,000. It didn't start out at 20. It didn't start at that. But you have to start by making the investment, because otherwise you're just making an excuse. And no excuses, only investment.
Well, if you don't play, you don't win. And
it's good one.
And I think, it's when I go to Vegas, or I went to the Catskills, and I went to a casino in the Catskills a few weeks ago, and I was only willing to pay the quarter slots. That was the cheapest they had, because I'm nickel slots. No. That's all I feel comfortable with. I'm a nickel slots girl, but they only had quarter slots. This place is high roller in the Catskills. But I know if I would have invested $1, $5, everybody's always saying do $20 slots or whatever.
Yes.
I would have been much more successful. I didn't win anything. I spent $20, but I knew that, I knew the outcome wouldn't be great, but you play
right.
with as much as you can, and then you invest more when you can.
More.
And after 5 minutes of talking with you on just a random Zoom where we met in a breakout room, I was like, oh, I am investing in this $25,000 program too. And guys, listeners, we're not telling you to do that, but I'm just saying every time I've taken a big leap, a leap that felt like a pit in my stomach, like 3 years ago, investing $10,000 in coach felt like for me.
We're the same person.
Yes, it's paid off. So I go a little bit slower than Justin. It's true. I think we all hear that now, but I recognized, you have to really take the risk to get the reward, whether that means
Yes.
going outside your comfort zone with your day job and saying, I'm going to work nights too, or I'm going to cut back hours, or I'm going to use my vacation to ramp something up in an interesting way. There's so many ways to make a minimized risk investment in yourself.
Man, that's great. And here's the beautiful thing. I'm 44. You're definitely younger than that. I'm not going to guess your age or say your age, but
I'm only sure 2 years younger than that, Justin.
Right. So here's the beautiful thing. This is just starting. Our journey's just starting. Are you getting the birth certificate or something?
Exactly. I want to prove to you.
Are you really?
No. I just realized that my computer came unplugged, which is definitely not a high level thing to be doing on a podcast, but it came unplugged. And I'm actually almost 43 November. So we're practically the same age, Justin. I'm just more conservative than you.
It will only keep getting better and better. To your point, the bigger investments that I make, it's usually 100. That's why I'm so excited about the new company, because it's just a way bigger investment in what I'm already doing with a partner who can help me do it way better and faster. Phase 9 quick start, way better. So that's my point. And I'd actually like to know if you have it, because you're a 4 fact finder, you probably haven't done it. But if you have, send me your score. The print, have you done that? Do you know what that is?
I've never heard of that. What is it?
Okay, I'll email it to you. There's a code for coach members. But so print, PRINT, and again, anyone can take this. It's your unconscious motivators. So people see the tip of the iceberg. They don't see under the water. And I'll 8 fact finder this. 10 is the highest fact finder. I'm an 8, so that's pretty high. But so my top 3 strength finders are activate, maximize, achieve. So there's no overthinking. There's no feeling anything. I don't know. I'm 34 out of 34 on empathy and 33 out of 34 on includer. My business partner, by the way, he's 3 on empathy. He's very high in it. But I just do it. I don't overthink it. I don't feel it. I just execute. And anyway, unconsciously, my print score is 8-3. So my main unconscious motivator is an 8, which is to be strong and self-reliant, which might probably yours too. Probably yours too, based on what I'm hearing. Although unconsciously, it's harder to predict. And then my minor unconscious motivator is a 3, which is to succeed and achieve. So those scores are all about execution and go for it. It's the go for it mentality. There's a lot of entrepreneurs where unconsciously they're motivated by thinking about things or feeling it, which with how you're talking, my guess is you have one of those numbers, well, at least one of them, because you have to think about it, you have to feel it. I don't have to feel or think about anything. I just do it unconsciously. That's what I hear, is that maybe that's why it's taking a little longer, because you have to feel it or really think about it, which is fine, by the way. I don't. I just execute. Yeah.
Well, I think something I'm really taking away from our conversation, and something I'm just taking away from, knowing you, is that we need to know ourselves. Like my past motivations, my childhood of seeing my mom work in a job she hated or struggled with, for people that, didn't understand her full value and not earning what she needed. And then growing up, were all translated into me being afraid to take risks, but afraid to work for others. So I was going to make my own way by myself, as felt good for me financially. But the way, Justin,
strong and self-reliant.
Yeah, the way you're sharing how to know ourselves, if you can't tap into your story, if you're not sure where your motivations are coming from, the Colby assessment is a great resource, which we will put in the show notes. He mentioned a print assessment, which I can't wait to take.
And strength finders too. That's are you high in ideation and strength finders?
Oh gosh, I'm low in fact finders, so I did take that one and I have no idea. But I also love the DISC assessment. That one's really good.
Are you and I?
Guess what other one?
Maybe some D. I'm
the highest ID. I'm right at the top in the middle. Yeah. I'm practically outside the circle. What are you?
I'm the highest D with a little I, and the other 2 are totally. I'm the highest. I'm off the page on D. Right. So that makes perfect. So I already knew. So my brain immediately is da, 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 and then immediately I can just tell. That's how my brain turns everything into patterns, everything.
Well, and you know what I love
And
about that is that not only do you know yourself, right? And that way you can figure out how to go into business for yourself, what leaps feel good for you, why
Yes.
you're doing that. You can understand your motivations, but then you can find like-minded people to partner with
yes,
because you can know them. You learned my Colby and immediately knew that there would be synergy there. So I just think for people listening, if you've never taken an assessment, there's another great one called the Achiever, which I just love. I'm actually so afraid to take it. I make all my employees take it, but I've never taken it for myself because I can't handle the truth. It is so in depth that I actually don't want to know these things about myself, but you're making me read. So guys, if you're questioning what your next step should be, if you're wondering, how do I even find this out? I love that 30 item list. Maybe don't include brushing your teeth, but I love that item list and circling it. I'm going to be thinking about that as I think about my next steps. And really, I want you guys to check out our show notes, affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast, to check out some of these assessments. It's a very minimal financial investment to learn so much about yourself. In fact, some of them are free. So Justin, it has been so illuminating to talk to you. Where can people find you? Where can people learn more?
Yeah, thank you. It's funny because I knew this would be good because our brains are like very collaborative. And again, the middle two Colby's. My new company is creating LinkedIn without the BS, but please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have 27,000 followers. So Justin Breen on LinkedIn is the best way. And I like LinkedIn. But it's a lot of spam. I like it, but a lot of spam. So creating an option, an alternative to that's much better and faster. So, but please reach out to me on LinkedIn. That'd be great. And the company's pronounced Brepic. The first one's Brepic, new one's Brepic Network. So,
wonderful. And we'll put all that in our show notes. We'll put direct links so you can just click to find Justin whenever you're ready. This has been very inspiring. What takes Justin 4 years to do takes me 16 years to process. So that's why I had to keep pulling us back. He goes a little bit faster than me, but I know that just being in your tailwind, Justin, will inspire lots of people today. So thank you so much for all these tips, for your generosity of spirit, for sharing your background. I know it's going to resonate with so many people, and it certainly resonated with me.
Well, thank you. But honestly, like your brains like yours are the ones that employ everybody else and the ideas. So I'm very grateful for you. I mean, you're showing me the way. I'm not, maybe I do it a little faster, but really you're the one showing me the way, and your story is very powerful. So thanks for sharing it with me and your audience.
Of course. Well, I'm going to endeavor to become the 1% of the 4% in Justin's mind. That's going to be
you already are.
Well, you're so kind. Thank you so much for joining us, and check him out in our show notes, affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast.
Are you a fan of this podcast? Do you wish there was even more juicy content for you to sink your ears into? Well, there is. You can become a premium member of this podcast for $5.99 a month and get full access to an archive of over 50 bonus episodes. Additionally, we release a bonus episode every single month. That's a ton of extra content, including my personal interior design diaries, extra tips, my talking about trends, and so much more. Additionally, you'll be keeping us on the airwaves each and every week because your premium membership money goes directly back to making this podcast amazing. Check us out at affordableinteriordesign.com. Click on podcast to learn more and to become a premium member today. A big thank you to our amazing producer, Catherine Heller, to Aton and the MVCR House Band, and to Affordable Interior Design, the sponsor of this podcast and the premier place to get an amazing look on a budget. Check out affordableinteriordesign.com. If you guys love the show, the very best way to support us is by spreading the word. Tell your friends or write us an awesome review on iTunes. So until next week, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.